My older brother is not normal. He is the eldest young master of the family, and I'm just the son of a servant in his family. But on the day of his coming-of-age ceremony, after he found out that I'm an Omega, there was a fanatical desire for possession in his eyes. Why has Max been secretly hiding a gland? He slowly unbuckled his belt and walked towards me. Why did you lie to your brother and say you developed into an alpha? I grabbed my pants to stop him from taking them off. I'm almost 19 years old. You can't beat me anymore. He was too lazy to listen to me. A liar has no right to negotiate conditions. Let go. My eyes turned red. I was both timid and afraid of this older brother who is 1 year older than me. In the end, I couldn't hold my ground and he pulled down my pants. I couldn't hold back my tears from the last few spanks and shouted at him, Matthew, you're in big trouble. I'm a full-fledged soldier now. How do you spank me? Just wait and see how I'll take you down on the simulation battlefield. I'll ram into him hard and smash his battleship to pieces. Matthew smiled. Do you think it's reasonable to lie? Do you know how dangerous it is to pretend to be an A and enter the military academy? I stuck out my neck defiantly. I did lie. But on the other hand, are you completely blameless? Oh, he leaned in towards my gland with great interest. What's wrong with your brother? Why is Max afraid that your brother knows you've developed into an Omega? I blushed abnormally. The air I breathed was full of the alluring pheromones of an alpha. After all this, does he still have the nerve to ask me why? But I dare not pierce this layer of paper. Who would have thought that the next second? A kiss landed on my gland. Max, you've kept it from your brother for so long. It's okay for your brother to mark it, right? On the same bed. His waist was tightly pressed against mine. As soon as I tried to escape, he pulled me back into his embrace. His warning rang in my ear, be good and stop moving around. When I was 12 years old, I mustered up the courage to ask for a separate room for the first time. He immediately pulled down my pants and spanked me. The spanking made me too afraid to say no ever again. I was afraid of my brother. Yet I also admired him. After he turned 15 and developed into a top-level alpha, his behavior became even more excessive. He almost constantly emitted alpha pheromones around me. Max, brother is helping you. Only in this way can you develop into the alpha you want to be. He was lying. Stimulated by his pheromones, I developed into an Omega at the age of 15. At that time, I bit his clothes and dared not cry out in the room filled with top-level alpha pheromones. I was afraid that he would come in and discover everything. Later, I disguised myself as an alpha and entered the military academy. One day when he was drunk, he pinned me against the wall. So what if he's an alpha? Max will always be my brother's. At Matthew's 20th birthday party, he bit down on my gland. The scent of rosemary irresistibly and forcefully invaded my whole body. It was a temporary mark. Matthew, are you crazy? I slapped him across the face and stared at him with red, rimmed eyes. I've always seen you as my brother. Act like one. Matthew pressed his tongue against the roof of his mouth. Why didn't you see me as your brother when you stole that kiss? A sense of danger forced me to flee. The next second, Matthew pinned me against the wall. If you don't like me, why did you steal a kiss that night? Was he awake that night? My heart skipped a beat. I don't know what you're talking about. For a moment, the room fell silent. Matthew let me go. Max, I'll wait for you to figure it out. But you don't have much time. His gaze was deep and confident. By the time he left my room, I was covered in the smell of rosemary pheromones. He didn't go all the way, but there was a hint of disappointment in my heart. I composed myself. After a long time, I saw a message on my terminal. Did you succeed? My heart was pounding as I replied, Matthew didn't give me a permanent mark. There was no further reply from the other end. However, I secretly went to see him 3 days later on my own initiative. As soon as I entered the room, a strong alpha pheromone hit me, and I was forced to kneel at his feet. The alpha smiled, with half of his face hidden in the shadow. Why didn't you let him mark you? Andrew. He is my adoptive father and also a political enemy of the Yu family. Many years ago, he transformed me when I was young and sent me into the Yu family, just to gain Matthew's trust. Then, working with him from inside and outside. He could bring down the U family and take over. This time on Matthew's birthday, he asked me to become Matthew's Omega. I lied again. Matthew doesn't like me. He finds me disgusting. He looked down at my gland. If he finds you disgusting, why did he give you a temporary mark and not take you back to his room? He hates Omegas very much. Andrew seemed to hear a joke and patted my face. Max, it's easy to tell when you're lying. Don't try to deceive me anymore. Be a good boy. Your sister and mother are still in my hands. I turned my face away in resistance. Andrew became even more interested. I don't do losing deals. Don't forget who saved you back then. When it came to my young sister and sick mother, I replied to him humiliatingly, adoptive father. I'll be good. Andrew arranged a suitor for me at school to help me handle Matthew. Everyone could tell that there was an improper relationship between this alpha and me. Andrew said this tactic was called retreating to advance. He said with a smile, Max, you should learn from this. But he doesn't know that I wish more than anyone else that Matthew would hate me. Only if Matthew hates me can he stay away from danger. So I really pretended to be in a relationship with this alpha and let the rumors fly. But I didn't expect Matthew to come back from the other province so soon. When he came back, it happened to be our mock exam. Matthew didn't even look at me and said coldly, I'll be their mock examiner. I knew something was wrong. All the candidates were terrified by this living hell king. After Matthew got on the mock mech, the first name he called was that alpha. Bang, bang, bang. With the huge collision sound on the mock battlefield, the candidates didn't dare to look at that frail mech. This was a one-sided massacre. That white mech had no power to fight back under the impact of the silver mech, like a little rabbit bitten by a wild wolf. In the end, it was smashed to pieces. Thanks to the timely arrival of the principal, this beating was barely stopped. The alpha fled out of the mech in a hurry. On the other side, Matthew took a long step and stepped out of the silver mech, coldly announcing, fail. Retake the course. This was the warning he gave to that alpha. Don't touch the people you shouldn't. The next second, his cold eyes finally looked at me. Max, it's your turn. He said he would smash his battleship to pieces. But when he really faced him, the temperament he had been domesticated with since childhood began to feel scared. My brother is coming to discipline me. I slowly got into the mech. Just as I was about to close the hatch, a slender hand squeezed in. My heart skipped a beat. I watched helplessly as Matthew stepped in. Brother, what are you coming in for? Matthew didn't say a word, and his tall body pressed over. Then his soft lips landed on mine. I dodged desperately. Don't, not here. All the scenes in the mech exam are monitored. Maybe everyone is watching me being forcefully kissed by my brother right now. How dare he? Matthew's lips were bitten by me. But he didn't stop at all. He kept invading and entangling. It wasn't until the pheromone detector in the mech gave a red light warning that he stopped and asked me with a smile. Are you scared? I gasped and begged him. Brother, let me take the exam properly. Don't do this here. He sneered. What exam are you still taking? Haven't you been flirting with alphas every day at school? I blushed instantly. He then said, Max, Big Brother sent you to the Alpha Military Academy for education and kept the secret of you being an Omega for you. It wasn't for you to have a puppy love. I sensed the warning in his words and pleaded with him. I know, brother. I'll break up with him. Matthew had a gloomy face all day that day. When we got home, he made me kneel on the bed and still spanked me 20 times. I should have known I shouldn't have turned off the surveillance back then. I should have let everyone know that you're mine. I buried my face in the pillow and wept bitterly. My butt hurts so much. He leaned over and said, Be good. When you give your consent. He said the last few words vaguely, but I knew exactly what he meant. Andrew's plan worked, and it had a double-edged effect. Because the Prime Minister's son rushed back to the school overnight to supervise the exam for an alpha, this incident was widely publicized by the media. Everyone knew that Matthew liked an alpha. When David, the head of the U family, found Matthew, he slapped him across the face. You unfilial wretch. When he was being punished by the family rules, David asked me to stand by and watch. He's just a low-status alpha. How could you lose control like this? Is this how the young master of the Yu family should behave? David was very disappointed and raised his stick to strike Matthew hard. After 50 strokes in total, Matthew's bones were broken and he was bleeding profusely. You'd better obediently accept the blind dates I've arranged for you. Otherwise, the Yu family won't tolerate you as its son. I was secretly shocked. David climbed to the position of prime minister by being ruthless and having an iron-fisted approach. And he has countless illegitimate children. Now, compared to David, Matthew has just grown a bit more independent. With some tactics, David can easily make him obedient. Are you forcing me to marry someone I don't love? Matthew wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, gave a sarcastic smile and said, "Then end up like you, losing my mother and living a muddled life for the rest of my life." David was deeply hurt. Back then, Matthew's biological mother was driven to death by him. She never loved him until the end. Finally, David slapped me across the face and roared, "Matthew, if you don't obey, you'll never see him again in your life. Don't touch him. I'll follow your arrangements." Matthew stopped resisting and lowered his head. At night, Matthew had a high fever. The chaotic pheromones of the alpha repelled everyone. But I was the only one allowed into his room. He weakly raised his hand and said, "Max, don't cry. Big brother is okay." He tried his best to emit soothing pheromones to keep me from being scared. I choked with sobs and shed tears without saying a word. He smiled bitterly and said, "Actually, I hate David so much. If it weren't for him, my mom wouldn't have died." After he drove my mom to death in the name of love. He had affairs everywhere and had many illegitimate children. Now he's even trying to stop our marriage. I was shocked and didn't miss the flash of killing intent in my brother's eyes. When he turned his head, he regained his gentle look and said, "Max, how about we get married because we're having a baby? Then no one will dare to say anything." "Brother?" My brother wasn't joking. He was serious? I was a bit scared and said, "Brother, you promise not to force me." Matthew swallowed hard and coaxed me. "Max, Big brother was just scaring you. Don't be afraid." I made him promise again and again not to do such a thing. And he agreed. But I always feel that Matthew hasn't given up this idea. Because after my 20th birthday, he collected all the inhibitors at home. I knew my brother had stood outside the door for a long time. He could have broken into the locked door. But he deliberately said in a voice I could hear, "Max, happy adulthood. Bro wishes you." He was telling me that I couldn't escape. I suspect my brother is almost going crazy with patience. On one hand, he was dealing with that old fox David and meeting all kinds of blind date partners. On the other hand, he came back at night and wanted to sleep with me in his arms. Max, before long, when David steps down and I take over the real power of the Yu family, he can never separate us again. Max, wait for bro. I became even more panicked. Andrew asked me to win Matthew over as soon as possible. This was a good opportunity for him to rise to power. I was hesitant, until one day I received a call. "Max, you haven't come to see Mom for a long time. Mom misses you." I almost shed tears. "Mom." I was taken into the Yu family by Andrew since childhood and never had the chance to see my mom. I could only occasionally have video calls with her through Andrew's terminal. This time, she even asked me tremblingly, "Max, I heard from Mr. Andrew that you're working for the Yu family now." I was stunned for a moment. My mom cried hysterically. "Max, how could you do this? You don't know that David is your father's murderer. How could you work for him?" I stood there stiffly. "Mom, what are you talking about?" My mother told me a story. It turned out that back then, my father had blocked David's path to officialdom. So David mercilessly killed him and tried to wipe out my father's family. After an explosion, except for my pregnant mother and young me who were picked up in advance by Andrew's people, everyone else died in that explosion. He is your father's murderer. None of the Yu family members are good people. Max, you must avenge your father. I felt so weak that I could hardly hold the phone. Matthew is the son of my father's murderer. His father killed my father, and I want to take revenge. So I came to cause trouble for him. It all seems so logical. But why does my heart ache so much? A message came from the terminal, which was the last warning from Andrew. Max, think more about your mother. You don't want her to live an unstable life in her later years. Do you? Choose between my brother and my mother? Choose between love and family? During my first heat after turning 20, I made up my mind and climbed into Matthew's bed. When Matthew pushed the door open, a sweet orange scented pheromone wafted over. It was as if the oranges were already over, ripe and waiting to be tasted. I was a little scared and only wrapped a bath towel around my waist, brother. His eyes instantly lit up. His Adam's apple bobbed as he stared at me like a predator eyeing its prey. Max, is it what brother is thinking? He pressed down on me. With the aggressive scent of rosemary, tell me, why didn't you take the inhibitor? My face flushed bright red, brother. Because I was waiting for you to come home. With just this sentence, my brother couldn't hold back anymore and kissed me. Max, don't regret it. That night, it didn't stop until the sky was almost dawn. In a daze, I looked at my brother's face. He had never been so happy. Sweat dripped onto my chest, and he called my name over and over again. And on the back of my neck, a purple rosemary pattern had formed, indicating that I had been completely marked by him. I asked him, brother, when did you start liking me? It's been a long time. Matthew's face was half hidden when he smoked. Do you remember the time when my dad beat me and locked me in a small room for 3 whole days? I remembered. At that time, Matthew was only 8, and I was only 7. He didn't allow anyone in the family to give me food or drink. After being locked in the dark room for 3 days, I was hungry and hated him. No one dared to come in except you. You brought me a small bowl of porridge and turned on the light in the room for me. Later, when Dad found out, he locked you and me together in the small dark room. You were afraid of the dark at night, so you hugged me and slept with me. You also comforted me, saying, don't be afraid, brother. You trembled in my arms all night. In fact, you were the most scared one at that time, right? Matthew's laugh took me back to that time too. At first, Matthew hated me. He said I was dark and thin, like a monkey, and told me to get out of the U family. But since then, he gradually began to accept me. Later, after years of secret love, his feelings for me got out of control. Max, I love you. Do you love me too? Matthew held my face, and his serious eyes were filled with a kind of love that made me flustered. I didn't dare to answer him and shrank into the quilt. How could I tell him that I actually came to harm him and take revenge on the U family? Matthew's eyes dimmed. It doesn't matter. You're already my Omega now. You can't escape. After he fell asleep, I quietly got out of bed. On the terminal was the message I sent to Andrew. Matthew has finally marked me. Andrew, good. Dear child, you can come back. Then, Andrew slowly spread the news. Matthew was with an alpha. Same-sex relationships between alphas are prohibited in this world and are considered disgraceful. Not to mention that someone with ulterior motives leaked a video online of Matthew beating another alpha on the simulated battlefield in his capacity as an examiner. That alpha also came forward to accuse him of taking away his lover by force. At first, no one believed that the Prime Minister's son would do such a thing. Until the mark of rosemary on my neck where I was marked and my badge from the Alpha Military Academy were revealed. Everything was confirmed. There was an uproar across the country. People called Matthew a home wrecker who meddled in others' relationships and forcibly snatched an alpha. While waging a public opinion war, Andrew dug out the cases David committed back then. All the crimes were collected and handed to the cabinet through someone else. Within a month, the U family was investigated by the Supreme Council and the cabinet. For a moment, the prominent U family was in deep trouble. During this period, Matthew called my phone countless times and sent me a series of messages every day. In the end, there were only 2 sentences. Where have you gone? Don't you want your elder brother anymore? Doesn't Max want his elder brother anymore? Please come back. Okay. His tone carried a plea he had never shown before. But I never replied even once. Until one day, he no longer expected my reply and didn't contact me either. Once I saw him surrounded by a group of media on TV. Mr. Matthew, why do you violate social norms and fall in love with an alpha? Don't you know how much this will affect the general election? With the general election approaching. If it weren't for this, the adult Matthew could smoothly enter the cabinet. Now, as long as he says, Max is not an alpha but an omega, then I will immediately be arrested and investigated by the police department and then thrown into jail. And he will also be cleared of the stigma. In this way, I won't be able to become a soldier for the rest of my life. And all my efforts in the past 10 years will be in vain. But he didn't say it. He looked at the camera and said word by word, my lover, no matter whether he is an alpha, a beta or an omega, I will love him and find him. The last sentence was for me. My heart tightened, and I had the illusion that I really couldn't escape his grasp. What? Feeling sorry for him? Andrew has been in a good mood recently. Whether it's Matthew keeping my real gender a secret now or me going to give Matthew food that night when I was 7 and softening Matthew's heart. Every step is under his control. He is always good at calculating people's hearts. Are you satisfied? Andrew smiled. Why doesn't Max call me Godfather anymore? He wiped the wet and red corners of my eyes. Isn't it just losing a brother? So aggrieved? How about I be your family from now on? I trembled all over, not understanding what he was saying. With a smile like that of a laughing Buddha, he said, what are you afraid of? This is just the beginning. Andrew kidnapped me onto a cruise ship just to be on the safe side. He asked someone to use my phone to make a video call to Matthew. Hello. The call was answered quickly on the other end. Matthew, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, was wearing a suit today and was on his way to the general election. Max? He immediately realized that my mouth was gagged and I couldn't speak. When he spoke again, the usually steady elder brother's voice trembled. Don't be afraid. Brother will have someone locate your position right away and come to find you immediately. No, don't come to find me. I shook my head while crying and watched helplessly as Matthew hung up the call. He knew it might be a trap, but he still came without hesitation. It seemed like a century had passed. I heard my elder brother's voice in my coma. Max, wake up. When I opened my eyes, I saw Matthew's chin. He hugged me as if I were a lost treasure. Brother has been looking for you for a long time. Now I'll take you home. Warm and salty tears fell on my face. But before he could untie the ropes for me, the next second, there was a loud bang of a gunshot, and the bullet passed through Matthew's chest. A trail of blood splashed onto my face. I didn't even have time to react before he fell into the sea. At that moment, my mind went blank. I didn't expect Andrew to take his life. Amidst the spinning world, I blacked out and fainted. When I opened my eyes again and saw Andrew, I slapped him across the face and roared. You didn't say you were going to kill him. You didn't say so. Andrew slightly widened his eyes and said, Max, you're the first one who dares to hit me like this. I know you don't believe me. But what if I said it wasn't me who did it? I just spread the news that you were kidnapped to him. He didn't even bother to verify the authenticity of the news and rushed here from the election hall in a hurry. Is this the brain of the heir of the Yu family? My elder brother is like this. Even if there's a 1% possibility of me being in danger, he'll come to protect me without hesitation. I closed my eyes and let the tears flow. I desperately tried to sort out my thoughts in my mind. Andrew isn't the kind of person who dares to do something but is afraid to take responsibility. Then who on earth did it? Who dared to kill my elder brother? Max, I'm already the new prime minister now. Even if he didn't die today, I wouldn't let him off easily. Now that everything is settled, let Godfather take care of you from now on. Okay. Andrew comforted me, like a cunning old fox who is good at luring people's hearts. Moreover, what's wrong with the fall of the Yu family? Godfather even avenged your father. David was sentenced to death by the deliberation hall. You should thank me, right? But the next second, his smile froze on his face. I pressed a knife against his chest. If he took one more step forward, his heart would be pierced. Andrew, you've achieved your goal. Let me go. If I stay by your side any longer, Only one of us can survive. Andrew grabbed the blade with his backhand and sighed. Max has grown up. Godfather can't keep you anymore. I've officially graduated from the Alpha Military Academy. And my mother was also discharged from the hospital smoothly and opened a flower shop. In the past 2 years, Andrew harassed me countless times but was always turned away by me. The Alpha smiled helplessly and bitterly. Max, you really made me taste the feeling of frustration for the first time. Put away your pheromones. Frowning, I tried to escape from his embrace but was tightly held by him. Are you going to reject me forever for a dead man? Andrew looked at me intently and whispered in my ear. What on earth am I inferior to him? If I hadn't saved you, would you still be standing here now? I closed my eyes. Andrew, if you really loved me, you wouldn't have sent me to the U family back then, let alone to Matthew's bed. You're so hypocritical now that you make me sick. Andrew stiffened all over and let me go. You've hated me since then? I shook my head. I'm grateful to you for saving my family back then, but I can't give you anything more. Besides, you don't understand what love is at all. Andrew's expression shattered bit by bit. Max, you want me to let go? Impossible. You'd better be obedient. I don't want to lock you up like a pet. Andrew has gone crazy. He has become more and more impatient. And the way he looks at me is as if he wants to devour me alive. I pretended to cater to him but started to prepare for my escape. Unexpectedly, I received an invitation at this time. An invitation from the Eagle Special Forces. That's the dream destination of every soldier. And it unexpectedly fell into my hands like a windfall. I couldn't wait to pack my things and leave this place. When I was about to leave for the assessment of the Eagle Brigade, my mother stopped me. Max, do you really want to go to such a dangerous unit? The missions carried out by the Eagle Brigade are extremely perilous. Moreover, you're an Omega. Moreover, what's wrong with Silan? Why do you always dislike him? He's so kind to our family. He helped your sister go to school and has been paying for my medical expenses. He likes you and has loved you for so many years. He's the Prime Minister. How many high-ranking and powerful men would treat you like this? Mom, stop talking. This set of arguments clearly sounds like something Andrew taught. Actually, after my brother fell into the sea, my heart also became dead. I lived like a walking corpse every day until I received this letter. I packed my bag and set off. But I never expected that after traveling 1,000 miles to join the Eagle Squadron, the first familiar face I saw would be the one I had been thinking about day and night. Brother. The moment that person turned around, I was sure. He is my brother. He is Matthew. Brother? You're not dead. I couldn't believe it and wanted to touch his face. With tears welling up in my eyes, he took a step back and mocked. Who's your brother? I'm the captain here. Look clearly. I froze in place. At the same time, I also smelled the rosemary pheromone on him. There was no trace of my orange blossom scent anymore. Instead, it was the pheromone smell of another Omega. Matthew removed the lifelong mark and marked another Omega. My eyes were so sore that I felt like I was about to die from the pain. Brother, please don't be like this. Okay? I miss you so much. I miss you every day. Matthew looked at me with disgust and pushed me away. He warned me, Max. If you keep acting like this, you can go home without taking the assessment. He is my brother. I clearly never told him my name. But not only did he refuse to recognize me, he also tormented me during the soldier assessment, treating me more harshly than others. I carried a backpack that was 10 caddies heavier than others and ran 20 kilometers under the weight. My legs were shaking so badly that I fell into the mud. He gave me a heavy kick on the back. Get up. If you can't do it, just go back. I took a mouthful of mud. My back ached from the kick, but I still stood up again without giving up. I didn't miss the word he called me good for nothing. I wanted to cry. My elder brother never used to scold me like this before. Even during the battle, he obviously only shot at me with the virtual gun. There was an unhesitating hatred in his eyes. In fact, when I looked into his eyes, I wanted to ask him countless times, brother, do you still love me? Have you thought about me all these years? But when that virtual bullet penetrated my chest exactly, I finally understood. The fact that my elder brother doesn't love me anymore. but on the training ground of the Eagle Brigade. He broke my arm, kicked my shoulder, and pressed me into the soil, beating me black and blue. He hates me. The most frequent thing he said to me was, if you can't even stand this, just go back home quickly. Matthew clearly knows that I'm an Omega, yet he bullies me the most mercilessly. When I was weak, I grabbed his hand, my eyes red from crying. Brother, please don't treat me like this. Okay? Can we have a good talk? He heartlessly wiped the tears from my face. There's no brother here. Do you think your tears work on me? Why should I talk to you? He said that a useless person like me isn't qualified to be on the battlefield, and told me to go back to the dormitory this afternoon and not appear in front of him. On the way back, the squad leader said that I had been granted a 3-day leave by the higher-ups, calculating. These 3 days happen to be my Omega's special period, but I've never actively applied for a rest. Not willing to give up, I didn't use an inhibitor when my special period came and sneaked into his room at night. Who's there? Matthew just turned on the light warily when I pounced on him on the bed. The smell of orange was tempting him. I was extremely aggrieved, brother. It's me. My special period has arrived. It was you who approved my leave, right? Brother, don't push me away. Okay, Matthew sneered. Max, do you think I still remember your special period? Who's as self-affectionate as you? Running into an alpha's room during your special period. Are you that cheap? Is this how I taught you? I froze all over. I never expected to be insulted by him like this one day. He pinched my gland with one hand and played with it wantonly as if it were a useless thing. Max, do you think I'll still be deceived by you? Isn't it enough that you've deceived me for more than a decade? Now you still dare to deceive me? Do you have a heart? What? Andrew doesn't want you now. When you're short of an alpha, you suddenly think of me, right? He finally stopped pretending to be a stranger and pushed me hard to the ground. You clearly approached me for revenge but still pretended to like me. Were you almost disgusted when I slept with you? You wanted to take revenge on my dad and played with me like a dog. Max, I really want to ask if you've ever loved me all these years. His eyes were red, and my heart was almost torn apart by him. I want to say it's not like that. Brother, I love you. But every word he said was about the actual harm I had done to him. He wouldn't believe what I said anymore. Staying any longer would only be humiliating myself. Just as I was about to get out of bed, he grabbed my ankle. Get back here. I let out a cry of pain. Matthew grabbed my face and said, Who allowed you to leave? With all that Omega pheromone on you? Which alpha are you going to seduce outside? How many alphabets have you climbed into in these 2 years? He bit hard on my gland, and a continuous stream of pheromones was injected into my gland. My urgent heat was soothed. Then hot tears fell on my neck. He said viciously, You should have known on the day you played with me that I'll never let you go in my life. I never thought that the intimate act would be so painful. Matthew should be in more pain than me. He had marked other Omegas and then came to mark me. The 3 kinds of pheromones were driving him crazy. Be still. He slapped me and covered my mouth, not allowing me to call him brother. After 3 days and 3 nights of mutual torment, my special period finally passed, but I had a high fever. In a daze, I grabbed his hand and said, Brother, do you have another Omega? He let go of my hand and said word by word, Yes, I don't want you anymore. During the days when he came to visit me in the hospital, he carried a very strong scent of other Omegas on him. He even flirted with that Omega right in front of me. Do you have the nerve to cry? Didn't you also have a godfather behind my back before? Stung by Matthew, I shrank into the quilt. Then he yanked me out forcefully. But does your godfather still care about you? Who else but me would take care of you? Matthew also used PUA techniques on me, saying that I was just a child no one wanted before, and Andrew only used me. Now I can't go anywhere except the Eagle Squadron. Stimulated by him, I kept having a high fever. He finally shut up. At night, he would hug me to sleep to make me sweat. He said he wanted to make me overheat and tortured me every night. Until one day, I vaguely heard a familiar quarrel. Andrew? You dare to show up in front of me? I've wanted to teach you a lesson for a long time. Then came Andrew's mocking voice. I'm here to take Max home. Didn't you say you don't want him anymore? The next second, the sounds of punches and kicks kept ringing out, and it sounded very intense. Frightened, I got up from the hospital bed and ran to stop the fight. The pheromones of the two top alphas forced back 3 layers of people, and no one dared to get close. Matthew and Andrew were fighting fiercely. Each punch aimed at the other's life. Andrew spat out a mouthful of blood foam and provocatively smiled. What? Do you think there's still a possibility between you two? I just smelled the scent of other omegas on you. Max doesn't like dirty things. Matthew kicked over. Who's dirtier than the Prime Minister in terms of means? I raised him. What does my business with him have to do with you? After saying that, the two fought like wild beasts again. My child has been wronged. Of course. I have to get justice for him. Andrew got angry. You know very well that it had nothing to do with him when you were shot 2 years ago. It was the good deed of your illegitimate child from the Yu family. Why are you getting angry at him now? Whether you went to save him that day or not, you wouldn't have been able to participate in the general election. Your Yu family had already been ruined by David. When you gave him the invitation to the Eagle Brigade, I thought you would cherish him well. But what happened? You just wanted to torture him. If you don't want to take care of him, let me do it. Matthew didn't reply and took 2 punches forcefully, and I was even more shocked. In the past 2 years, countless feelings of guilt have weighed on me and made it hard for me to breathe. Now I've finally escaped this shackle. Turns out that I never owed Matthew a life debt. It wasn't me who made him lose half his life. Pretending not to see, I quietly went back to the ward and hid under the quilt. After a while, Andrew and Matthew both came to the ward with injuries. Andrew said, "Okay, Max, go home with your godfather. Matthew insulted you like that. We won't stay in this lousy army anymore." Matthew, with a bruised face, leaned against the door obliquely and looked at me without saying a word, looking as if it didn't matter if I left. But he just blocked the door to see my reaction. Like a wolf guarding its food. It seemed that as long as I agreed to leave, he would pounce on me and kill me. I lowered my eyes and said, "No, you go. I won't go back. In my heart, the place where Matthew is my home." Matthew never appeared in front of me again with the pheromones of other omegas, but he always came to take care of me without saying a word. Until I was almost recovered from my illness, he said, "Go back when you're well." I was stunned. Was he driving me away? No, I don't want to. He knew very well that this place had been my dream since childhood. Matthew frowned and said coldly, "Max, do you think this is a joke? You even had a high fever and were sent to the hospital during a special period. Do you think you can carry out missions? I'll give you a fail in the assessment. Go back by yourself." No. My eyes were red with tears. Then why did you let me come here? Matthew froze. Wasn't that invitation letter sent by you? Besides you, who else knows that I want to join the Eagle Brigade? Brother, don't leave me behind. I'll prove to you that an Omega can also carry out missions well. I threw myself into his arms. Brother, don't drive me away. I really have no home anymore. Matthew finally softened his heart. He fairly let me pass the assessment and become a member of the Eagle Brigade. But no one expected that our first mission would be so difficult. During the mission, Matthew always stood in front of me, protecting me behind him. Brother, I can do it. What can you do? He whispered angrily. Get behind me. I had to obey the command. But in the snowy landscape, the whole team didn't notice that the enemy had set up an M200 sniper rifle at an altitude of 5,000 meters with harsh environment. When everyone was exhausted, I and Omega sensitively caught the only trace of an alpha's pheromone. Brother, be careful. At a critical moment, when the bullet was fired, I lunged towards Matthew, and many memories flashed before my eyes. It was the night of my first special period. My elder brother looked at me affectionately and asked, Max, do you love me? I love you. Elder brother. There is no pain at the moment when the bullet pierces through the flesh. It was only when Matthew held me and desperately called my name that the heart-wrenching dull pain slowly came. After our reunion, he always dared not believe that I loved him. This alpha thought on his own that our relationship had reached a dead end and there was no turning back. I should have told him earlier. Elder brother, it turns out that I've loved you for so many years. But I'm so timid that I only dare to say it now. Because the position of the enemy sniper was discovered in advance. The Eagle Brigade finally completed the impossible task. Months later, with the spread of this deed and the promotion of Prime Minister Andrew, the Omega Protection Regulations revoked the rule that Omegas were prohibited from joining the army and allowed Omegas to attend military academies. There was a huge stir across the country, and the equality between Alphas and Omegas took another step forward in history. And in the ward, I watched Andrew walk in with a livid face and say, "Matthew, you promised me to take good care of him. But you didn't." Matthew ignored him and said to me, who had just woken up for 3 days, "Max, ignore him. Brother won't let such a thing happen again in the future." He leaned over to block Andrew and even wouldn't allow me to look at him more. I frowned and said, "Elder brother, you smell so bad." He was stunned for a moment and realized that it was the pheromone of another Omega on him that had caused the problem. He quickly explained, "This is synthetic Omega pheromone. I was seriously injured when I fell into the sea. You weren't by my side. The doctor was afraid that I wouldn't survive the special period. So he washed off the mark without permission and used synthetic pheromone. That Omega that day was also. Brother invited him on purpose to make you angry. Alphas can really be quite childish sometimes." Matthew also felt a bit embarrassed and kissed me on the forehead. "When you're better, let's re-mark each other." "Okay," he said it deliberately for Andrew to hear. "But when we were in the Eagle Brigade, you really broke my heart. You hit me and scolded me." Matthew wished he could kneel down to me. "It was my fault. Bro. In fact, I regretted it on the first day you came. It was too dangerous in the Eagle Brigade. I wanted you to give up and go home. But I was also reluctant to part with you. I just thought about seeing you more every day. Forgive me, okay? You were really pretentious back then." I buried myself in his arms, feeling gloomy. I think I need to think about the complete marking thing. Matthew, who had shot himself in the foot, froze and managed to squeeze out a "okay" after a long while. Since he couldn't scold his wife, he vented his anger on Andrew, who was watching the show. "Why aren't you leaving yet? Is the Prime Minister so free every day to watch others flirt?" Andrew sneered and spat out 2 words. "Serves you right." So he and Matthew had another fight in the hospital before he left. When leaving, Andrew said to me, "Max, come home if you're wronged. I'll always be waiting for you." Matthew slammed the door shut. "Get out of here. You're crazy." He turned to look at me, looking aggrieved. "Honey, you don't really still have feelings for him, do you?" I smiled at him. "How could I? I've always loved you. A long time ago, I secretly promised myself to you in my heart." Extra story. On the day I married Matthew, same-sex relationships between alphas were gradually being accepted by the world. At the wedding, no one cared whether I was an Omega or an Alpha. All they knew was that I was Matthew's newlywed partner. On this day, Andrew also had to come. With a gloomy face, he heard Matthew deliberately taunt him. When offering a toast, Matthew called him, "Godfather, I offer this toast to you. Thanks to you for sending Max to the U family all those years ago. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found such a wonderful wife." The Prime Minister, who usually kept his emotions in check, almost splashed the wine in his face. He composed himself and said, "There's no need to call me Godfather. If Max is wronged in the future, I'll hold you accountable." Matthew just laughed off this blatant warning and said, "You're not even willing to be called Godfather. The Prime Minister really doesn't want to admit he's old. At such an old age, you're still competing with the young people." Andrew, who had just celebrated his 38th birthday, gritted his teeth in anger and took the wine from him. The tense atmosphere made everyone aware that there was bad blood between the Prime Minister and General Yu, and they all trembled in fear and dared not say a word. I sighed and took Matthew's arm, saying, "Brother, let's go over there to take pictures." Matthew clasped my hand and said affectionately, "Okay, wife." With a click, the two of them were captured in a happy and pure, white frame. At this moment, may they have a harmonious and lasting marriage, and all be well and perfect.